Hi everyone, I'm B2Bolish, and this is my attempt at beating a Pokémon Platinum Hardcore Nuzlocke using only B Pokémon. The rules of this Hardcore Nuzlocke can be found in the description, but to make it quick, if a Pokémon faints, it is considered dead and can no longer be used. I can only catch one Pokémon per route, no items in battle except held items, no overleveling past the next gym leaders or Elite Four's ace, and I must play on set mode. The special rules for this challenge are, the Pokemon that I can catch must have a name that begins with the letter B or evolve into one that does. I cannot evolve a Pokemon past its B form unless it evolves into another B Pokemon, so Budew will never become a Roselia. And I can re-roll non-B and duplicate Pokemon. There are a total of 11 B Pokemon lines in the Sinnoh Dex, but since Bonsly is post-game in the Trophy Garden, that leaves us with just 10 encounters and only 5 of which can fully evolve. So to kick this challenge off, I name myself B. And, for the rival, I choose the only given B name, Berry. Alright, let's get started here. As far as the starter goes, none of them actually have any B forms, so Chacha chose Piplup for this attempt, leaving Berry with a Turtwig. I hand Berry the first of many defeats before heading over to the Sandgem Pokemart to load up on Pokeballs and go back to Route 201, to where I can finally get our first encounter, Budew. Also, just as a side note, Chat chose every name for the Pokemon on this run, with the only rule being that they had to start with B. So I won't be focusing on them too much in the commentary. You'll see me releasing the starter here, but I do allow the use of other Pokemon for only HM use. After almost dying many times, I finally get Budew up to level 4, and I run into our first problem of the run, a level 5 Starly. Now you'll notice here that I do get outsped and outdamaged, but seeing as how this was a completely blind attempt, I wasn't too beat up about it. We're going to reset here and get on with attempt number 2. For attempts going forward, I did pull up a walkthrough just so that we're not wiping at the first trainer every time, and I decided that it was best to pick Chimchar so that our rival would have Piplup for the first fight right outside of Jubilife City. I beat Berry again, then we circle back to Route 201, catch our Budew, and after getting all the way to level 8, we stomp youngster Tristan and his Starly from hell. Now in Jubilife, I grab the Quick Claw, we drop off the parcel to Berry, talk to some clowns, and get our Poketch. Then we head up to Route 204 for our second encounter. Now here, you can either get a Budew or a Wurmple that will eventually evolve into a Beautifly. I ended up catching the latter, and that means that we have to wait until level 7 to figure out if it's going to be a Cascoon or a Silcoon, which we can actually use. And on this attempt, we got a Cascoon, so we have to re-roll it. On our next try, I catch a Budew, and after some more grinding, we're finally ready to face Berry. You'll notice that for most of this run, Berry isn't really a threat, including here where Budew takes down his Starly, and then having a super effective move, Budew takes down his Piplup. That means that our next challenge is Rourke, and given that he's a rock gym and I have a grass type, this should be pretty easy in theory. Alright, so he's going to lead Geodude, and I'm going to lead in Budew. Only job? Hit a few growls on Geodude before switching in Budew, where we can start setting up on growths. After about 3 growths or so, I can take down Geodude in a single shot with a Mega Drain. Out next is his Onyx, but it goes down in a one-shot too. Last is his Cranidos, which is a little scary, but with the right nature, we can outspeed and one-shot, and with that solo effort, we have our first badge. Now that that fight is over, we have a brand new level cap, and, because we were so close beforehand, Budew finally evolves into a Bibarel. Next, we're going to head over to Valley Windworks to get our next encounter, a Buizel. Since we're in the area, I grind up and take on Commander Mars. Buizel doesn't have any difficulty taking on her Zubat, but then Perugly comes in. So, I decide to switch in Budew here to take the Fake Out and then hit a Stun Spore. After that, Bibarel can outspeed and kill with a combination of Rock Smash and Return. Next up is the Eterna Forest where I repel so Cheryl doesn't kill any of our encounters with a forced double battle. After she leaves, I dart back inside and either look there for 1% Beautifly or Baneri. Luckily, I found the Beautifly first. Unluckily, I killed it with a crit. Ah well, because if I go to Route 205 East, we're actually guaranteed another one anyways. So, I catch a Silcoon, and after evolving it, I run into a bit of a problem. Did you know that if you catch a level 14 Silcoon and then evolve it into a Beautifly, the only move it's going to know is Harden? Well, you're welcome for your niche Pokemon fact of the day. Some useful information though is, if you run around a little bit, you can actually find a Bronzor over in Mount Coronet, which we catch and add to the team. Alright, time to take on Gardenia, and this is where Budew really starts to shine. After hitting a Stun Spore and a Worry Seed to remove Overgrow on Turtwig, I get to +6 with Growth. And after all of that setting up, we are actually able to take down her Turtwig with just a few Mega Drains before giving her Cherrim the exact same treatment. Time to show the Roserade who the better evolution is. Spoiler alert, it's Budew. We just kind of get it down as low as possible before Bronzor finishes it off. Nothing really too scary here in this fight. A bit of a spoiler warning, but if there are any future attempts, I'm probably not going to show anything that I've already beaten. With that out of the way, we head over to Floroma Meadow, and on the Honey Tree, we find ourselves a Burmy. I waited to do this after getting Beautified so that we're guaranteed another encounter. I then took to the underground to find our next encounter, Shieldon. But after finding 4 skull fossils, chat told me that you only get an armor fossil with an even trainer ID. Not believing them, I checked. Turns out the internet didn't lie, but no worries, I foolishly said, and carried on. Now that I beat Gardenia, I can use the TM Cynthia gave us outside of battle to challenge Commander Jupiter and her Skuntank. What you're going to see going on in the background is her Skuntank tearing through my entire team. Well, I wouldn't say my entire team. Actually, for some reason, it went for Screeches on Budew, so technically Budew and Bibarel ended up living. However, since we lost most of our team, I'm going to go ahead and call this one a wash, and we're going to reset. Deciding it would be best to reset until we had an even trainer ID, we actually didn't get one until we were on attempt 6. Unfortunately, Geodude took out Budew for the crit, and since Budew wasn't a plus speed nature, Cranidos outsped and flinched it, wiping us on the next turn. Back to resetting for an even ID, and it took us until attempt number 16. I beat Rourke and Mars, and then got a Silcoon on Route 205 so I can guarantee a Baneri in the Eterna Forest. Let me share something with you that I wish I would have known before I started this run, and could have figured out if I'd researched it at all. The optimal pre-Gardenia encounters go like this. Budew on either Route 201 or 202, your choice. Either Budew or a Beautifly Wurmple on Route 204. Weasel and Valley Windworks. Either Budew or Beautifly on Route 205 East, depending on which one you missed. You can repel Manip here with level 15 to find a 1% encounter Beautifly with all of the good moves. Either way you catch one, it'll have all of its level up moves and not just Harden. Guaranteed Baneri in the Eterna Forest. Guaranteed Burmy in Floroma Meadow. And then a Bronzor on Route 211 or Mount Coronet. Praying that you get a Levitate one, because honestly, I don't think this run is possible if it's just heat proof. Now that that's out of the way, I can get back to the run. Using the same strats as before, I beat Gardenia, and now that we have an even trainer ID, we can head down to the underground to get an armor fossil. I revive it, and since Shieldon resists all of Skuntank's moves, we actually make pretty quick work of Jupiter this time. With no new encounters between here and Hearthome, I move on to Fantina and her ghost types. She leads Duskull, which I can take out with Bronzor after a few extra sensories. Next is Haunter, but if you look at its moveset, it doesn't actually have any moves that can hit normal types, except for Sucker Punch, which only hits us when I try to attack. So I can PP solid by switching back and forth between Baneri and Bibarel. Once it's out of PP, Bibarel can kill it with Water Gun. All that's left is Hermes Magius, so I bring in Baneri and use Captivate until I won't live a crit anymore. However, the stats drops don't really matter as much, since she ends up critting Bronzor, Bibarel, and Beautifly, taking all of them out. Budew ends up killing her with a Mega Drain, but the team is limping along at this point, having lost 3 Pokemon that could fully evolve. With the raised level cap, Shieldon can now evolve into arguably the most important mon of the run, Bastiodon. And this evolution could not have come at a better time since I have a rival fight with Barry. And honestly, as long as I have Basti and Budew at this point, this fight is pretty much a breeze. After Barry, I can talk to this freshman on Route 209 to get a good rod before doubling back to Eterna City, where I can catch a guaranteed Barboach. Then, heading back to Route 210, I can find a 5% encounter Chansey, which is going to evolve into the special wall that this run desperately needs. Unfortunately, it's only a specially defensive wall, also normal type, so not really going to help us for our next encounter with Maylene. Now, as you can see in the background, we're kind of getting wiped. We do manage to take out her Meditite, only to go down to her Lucario. Alright, this attempt's dead, back to the drawing board. Attempt 18 was looking much better with the only death of Fantina being Beautifly, so I go back to Maylene looking for a rematch. Baneri here ends up one-shotting Meditite with Return, and expecting a Drain Punch, I sack Budew to Machoke. Baneri went back out, and thanks to some pretty questionable AI, we were able to take down Hermitchoke with just 2 returns. Last is Lucario, and I needed a clean switch, so I sacked Baneri and brought out Barboach. 2 Earthquakes end up taking him out, and we have a 4th badge alongside a new PB on the run. New level cap, new me means that we can evolve Bronzor into Bronzong and add some much needed bulk. We get to Pastoria, and I forgot about the Barry fight where we had just a little bit of an issue. Our only ground type / electric resistance died to a critical stomp from his Ponyta. Did it end up mattering much because we were going to need him for Wake? No, not really. Wake swept through us completely, and the only thing we were able to take down was his Gyarados before dying to his Floatzel. Attempt 20, we have our first Deathless Fantina. Weasel and Bibarel can take out Duskull, and then we can use Bronzor and Baneri to stall Mismagius out of everything besides Magical Leaf before switching into Beautifly to kill it. After that, all that's left is her Haunter, but that's just another PP stall that we saw before, a theme you'll notice going forward. Before fighting Meleen, I make sure to go to this house in Route 213 to pick up the TM for Trick Room for Bronzor, and just a little bit up the path we can get Aerial Ace for Beautifly. With a little better strategy and a flying type, we can actually one-shot her Meta type with Beautifly. Next is Hermitchoke, and expecting a 4x effective Rock Tomb, we're going to swap into Bronzor here to tank the hit. After that, we can fire off a Psychic that we picked up as a TM from the game corner. Then we go back into Beautifly on the Karate Chop, which we resist and kill with another Aerial Ace. Last is her Lucario, so we have to dodge a crit with Beautifly and hit one more Aerial Ace before swapping into Bronzor on the Metal Claw to set up Trick Room. Expecting another Fighting type move after this, we bring in Budew to tank it and then bait out another Metal Claw. Luckily, our plan works perfectly, and thanks to Trick Room, we can swap into Barboach, move first, and take down Lucario with an Earthquake. Alright, now we got a good strategy for the 4th badge too. Not losing anything to Barry this time, we have a full team for Crash or Wake. He leads Gyarados and I send out Bronzong to set up the Trick Room and then fire off a Psychic. Thankfully, with this added chip damage, I can swap into Bibarel to kill Gyarados with a Thunderbolt on the next turn. We stay in on Floatzel and hit it with a Yawn before swapping out to Bastiodon. After taking the Crunch, we can take out Floatzel with a few Thunderbolts. Last is his Quagsire, but with the Grass Knot TM from Gardenia, Bronzong outspeeds and one-shots it, getting us our 5th badge. Now it's time for some story stuff. We meet up with Cynthia again, and she gives us the special medicine, meaning now we can make our way through the fog and into Celestic Town. Here, we can talk to a guy in the Pokemart during the morning and get the choice specs. After getting this item of great importance, we head outside, go into the ruins where we have our first Cyrus fight. But Bastiodon and Bronzong make short work of his team. Honestly, he isn't really a threat until the Distortion World, and then he becomes a really big threat. Like a really, really big threat. On the total opposite end of that, we make our way to Canalave where Barry is a deathless pushover, and it's finally time to take on the 6th gym, Byron and his Steel types. Blissey being a special wall, can take out Magneton with a flamethrower since it only has special moves. Steelix can't really hurt Bronzong, so a few Grass Knots takes it down. Here's where we had to get kind of big brain though. His Bastiodon has Metal Burst, which will deal twice the damage we do to it if we hit it first. So, by setting up Trick Room, we move second and his Metal Burst does absolutely nothing. With no real way to damage us, we can just spam Grass Knots until his Bastiodon goes down. 6th badge and a new PB. More Galactic time, and we easily take down Saturn and Mars before heading over to Snow Point City. The only thing to do here is to fight Candace, so we'll just jump right into the fight. We lead Bastiodon and can take down Sneasel with a few flamethrowers. With that out of the way, next is Piloswine, who goes down to a few Grass Knots from Bronzong, and then after setting up Trick Room, we swap into Bastiodon to tank a Focus Blast from Abomasnow. We prepared for this with a Chople Berry in advance, and on the next turn we can outspeed and kill the Flamethrower. Thankfully, Frostlass, who only has special moves, gets completely walled by Blissey, who can kill her in a few Flamethrowers and a Lucky Burn. With that over, we only have one more badge to get. After clearing out the Galactic HQ, it's time for the 2nd Cyrus fight. We lead Bibarel to fire off a Yawn on Sneasel so we can get a safe switch into Bronzong, who can kill with Gyro Ball. Next is Crobat, and after setting up Trick Room, we can take it down with a few Psychics. That just means the only thing left is his Honchkrow, which only has one move that can really hit our tanks, that being Nightshade. However, we can PP Saw that with Bibarel and some leftovers Bastiodon pivoting. And after 2 more Ancient Powers, it goes down, making again pretty quick work of Cyrus. Saturn is just as easy as the other commanders, especially with an ace that's 4 times weak to Psychic. Alright, time to head to the Spear Pillar. To be honest, the commander double battle isn't really that difficult. Bastiodon, when equipped with Flamethrower, is pretty much untouchable to most of her moves, and we can outlast them while Barry helps whittle them down. With that out of the way, it's time to head into the Distortion World with Cynthia, but not before fixing around our team. After trudging around in the Distortion World for way too long, looking up a YouTube walkthrough, and then finally getting to Cyrus, it's time for a fight that I planned for at least a few hours. Unfortunately, I misclicked and left Chansey in only for it to die to a Cross Poison. We ended up winning the fight here with Bronzong, but with one of the big 3 gone, there was no point going on, so we just reset. Between odd IDs and some bad luck, a full 12 more resets happened before we got back here. But now that we are, let's talk about a few things. You'll notice that 2 of my Pokemon are damaged, and this is for their held items, the Custap Berry and the Sticky Barb. At low health, the Custap Berry always lets you move first, which will go on Bibarel. The Sticky Barb, currently on Burmy, will transfer to an opposing Pokemon if they hit you with a physical move. Once it's on there, it'll do damage to them equal to 1/8 of their health every single turn until they either hit you back or die. Thanks to the Custap Berry and the pre-damage, Budew can actually outspeed Houndoom and one-shot it with superpower. We then switch to Burmy, named Barb, Stick, on the Gyara switch for the first planned death of the run. Thanks Burmy, you had a roll. His sacrifice wasn't in vain as we put Gyara on a timer. Next, with a combination of Protect and Substitute, we can wait for his health to drop low enough before Budew can kill it with Thunderbolt. Now, here's the thing. Budew wasn't supposed to make it out of this fight. I had every intention of sacking it to Honchkrow. However, while trying to lower Honchkrow's power points, it ended up missing a Heat Wave, leaving up our sub and letting us fire off 2 Thunderbolts to take it out. The 2 most dangerous on Cyrus' team were beaten by a bunny who can't even use Helm items. Only thing that's left is Weavile and Crobat, who get completely walled by Bastiodon, and that's going to be the end of Cyrus. I could have tried to kill Giratina here, but since the game lets you progress if you flee, I just used a Smoke Ball to avoid losing any members of the team. And with that out of the way, it's time for Volkner. While Budew's shown on Gardenia, this is time for the Barboach show. First, we're going to lead Bronzong for the classic Trick Room Psychic Chip combo on his Jolteon. Then, baiting an electric move, we can switch into Barboach, who can kill with an Earthquake and then one-shot Raichu with the same move. For Electivire, we switch in Bastiodon to hit it with a Dig, and then, baiting an electric move, we go back to Barboach, who can kill it with another Earthquake. We then PP stall his Luxray out of all the dangerous moves, leaving it only with Ice Fang and Fire Fang. Then we can switch back into Budew, who can kill it with a few returns. Only 5 more big fights to go, and then we're in the Hall of Fame. Victory Road was uneventful as we basically walled everything, and you'll notice that I said 5 more big fights to go because Barry is still a pushover. First out is this Staraptor, and the only real threat that it has to us is close combat. Luckily it only has 5 PP, so after some pivoting and protecting, we can just take it down with Bastiodon. Out next is his Heracross, but it gets the same exact treatment as his Staraptor, as the only thing that has any danger to us is its close combat. With only 5 PP, we can stall it out and then take it down with Bastiodon. Then from there, out comes his Empoleon, who goes down to 2 Thunderbolts from Budew. Roserade is a one-shot with Psychic, and Blissey can wall and take out his Rapidash. Snorlax is last, and after getting rid of its Earthquakes with some pivoting, we can take it down with Bastiodon. Eat shit, Barry. You never stood a chance. Time for the E4, and Aaron isn't really a threat. We lead Bastiodon, and 1 Ancient Power takes down Yanmega. Another close combat pivot stall, and then Bastiodon can take down Heracross. Vespiquen goes down to 2 more Ancient Powers, and then Caesar goes down to a Flamethrower. Lastly, Drapion just kept going for X-Scissor so we can kill with a few Iron Heads. Up next is Bertha, and this is the beautiful I show. With the choice specs that we picked up in Celestic, we can sweep straight through her Whiscash, kill right through her Golem, and then once Rhyperier's out, we can one-shot that thing too. After that, we are going to have to pivot through Bronzong to bait a Fire Fang from her Gliscor, before then swapping into Buizel, who can outspeed and kill with a 4 times effective Ice Beam. Last is Hippowdon, but it goes down to a few Grass Outs from Bronzong after stupidly risking a crit on a Crunch after a defense drop. 2 down, 3 more to go. Flint is another pretty easy fight for the most part. Choice specs Buizel outspeeds his Houndoom and kills with Surf. Infernape is a bit of a threat though, so we swap into Bronzong to set up the rain. Meaning we do have to take a Thunder Punch, and after living a Flare Blitz thanks to an Octoberry, we can go back into our Swift Swim user and one-shot Infernape. Then after that, there goes Rapidash, and we can down his Magmortar. His Flareon is last, but after having Blissey tank all of its overheats, Bastiodon can come in and clean up. 2 more, and the stalling is not even close to done. Lucian is a little trickier than what we've faced so far, but the strategies are close to the same. He leads with Mr. Mime, who can't do anything serious to Blissey, and after getting rid of all of its PP, we swap into Budew, who can get the max attack, defense, and special defense with Substitute up. With that, we can knock out Mr. Mime with a return, and do the same to his Gallade. Now, Budew could have wiped out his Alakazam, but that would have gotten rid of our sub, so we get another Blissey stall, and once Alakazam starts spamming Recover, we can come back in and set up again. With a fresh substitute, we can kill his Alakazam, and then his Espeon with another return. Our sub is down, which means we are actually going to have to fight his Bronzong though. But we have a level advantage, so we take it out, and this means we only have 1 more fight. We enter the last doorway, and the best music in Pokemon starts to play. It is finally time to face off against Cynthia. We lead Blissey, and she leads Spiritomb. Now, given that it only has special moves, Blissey can't really be hurt as we land a Toxic. Now that Spiritomb was out of timer, we switch into Bastiodon, who resists all of its attacking moves, and we can take it down with a combination of a few Iron Heads and the Toxic Chip damage. Lucario's out next, and this is where the stalling starts. It has 20 Aura Spheres that we need to get through if we want to start setting up against it. Normally, Blissey could tank these because they're special, but it also has 5 Stone Edges and Extreme Speed, which will cause too much damage to our little squishy egg. The plan is to bait Aura Spheres of Bastiodon, and then, switching into Beautifly, who resists those. Once Beautifly is in, we bait either an Extreme Speed or Stone Edge, and then switch back into Bastiodon, who can recover what little damage it takes with the leftovers. This plan was working just as intended for a while, until, for some reason, she fired off a resisted Aura Sphere at Beautifly on the turn we were switching back into Bastiodon, which saw our heroic wall fall down. Rest in peace, Big Thicky. You were truly the carry that this run needed up until this point. With just a few more power points on Lucario's moves, we had to start spreading the damage. We used Beautifly and Bronzong to get rid of the Extreme Speeds and Stone Edges. With only special moves left, we needed a clean switch into Blissey, and unfortunately, that meant sacking Beautifly. Blissey was able to recover what little damage the Aura Sphere did with Soft Boiled, and once the Shadow Ball started flying, we started to set up a barrel. Now at +6 on attack, and both defenses, and behind a sub, Lucario goes down to a return. Out comes Roserade, and after it breaks our sub, it goes down to a return as well. At this point, setting up another substitute would be too risky, so we just have to pray that we don't get crit. Thankfully, Togekiss doesn't end us as we take it down with another return. Now all we have to do is live an attack from her Garchomp and we should be home free. He fires off an Earthquake, doesn't get the crit as one return takes him down. Last is her Milotic, who just about anyone can kill, but we let Bibarel do the honors, and Cynthia is defeated. We have beaten Pokemon Platinum with only B Pokemon. Now this is a run that took me quite a while, which you could probably tell by either the attempt counter, or the fact that my overlay actually switched halfway through the video. I do want to thank you all for watching up to this point, and given the fact that this is my first Nuzlocke video like this, please, any criticism, any suggestions, anything, please leave them down in the comments below. I plan on doing more of these and would love to get some feedback from the rest of you guys. If you want to catch these runs live, I stream every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 6 to 9 p.m. EST over on my Twitch channel, Beachabolish. Link in the description, and thank you so much for watching.